Okay, this video is about choose your own adventure books, and these types of books were very popular in the late 1970s to, I'd say early 1990s up to early 1990s. And it was kind of like an alternative to video games. So these books were based on science fiction, based on the science fiction genre, and each book had its unique story. So basically, you'd read the book, you start from page 1, and it would give you choices. So you could, so depending on the choices that you make in the book, you could either finish it successfully or you could get a bad ending. So since I grew up in the 1980s, I'm a Generation Xer. These books were very popular in the 80s. You know, this is when computers were very expensive. Although you did have text-based computer games for like vintage computers like Apple IIs, Apple IIc, Apple IIe, and IBM PCs back in the early 80s and up to mid 1980s. Computers were really a novelty back then. They were very expensive. I think an Apple IIc back in 1985 or 86 cost anywhere from 1,300. Let me check that. Let me check what the Apple II used to cost. It says it retailed for about $1,280 back in the 1980s. That was a lot of money back then. And this book costs about $1.95 back in, let me see when this was published. It was published in June 1983. And basically a dollar back then was worth more than a dollar right now, because a gallon of gas back in 83 was about, I know it was less than a dollar, maybe it was like 75 cents or something. And you could get a week's worth of groceries for about $20 back in 1983. I remember that. And a lunch used to cost like a school lunch used to cost like 50 cents in the cafeteria. And if you want to go out and buy a pizza or something, it was like maybe $5 or something, $5 to $8 for a whole pizza. Yeah, money was definitely had more value back then than it does right now. So as for these books, yeah, they were very popular with the Generation X crowd, and we used to buy a lot of these and read them. I had like, I just found these in my garage. I must have had like almost 50 of these books. I don't know where the rest went. I just found 3 of them. Let me see how many were actually published. It says right here that they were published from 1979 to 1998, and there were 184 of these books which were published. And this is number 21, and this is 22, and this is 25. So these were the earlier versions which were released. And like I said earlier, these were published in 1983. So the first one was published in 79. So that's about right. That sounds about right. Yeah, so basically this is like an ending. Let's read it. The two of you talk and talk, but you can't make up your mind, nor can the other you. In fact, you're still discussing the situation when the professor calls to say that the time of cosmic alignment has passed. You have lost your only chance to return to your own universe. You live on through and very happily on the other Earth in the other universe with the other you. Okay, this looks like a bad ending. So in this book, you end up in a alternate universe. Let's see what this ending is. This looks like a good ending. Riza laughs. Don't you remember we can control gravity? Shaking your head, you follow your new friends as they float up in the blue-green ocean in the sky. The swimming is the best it could have ever been. Soon, you're sure that you will never want to leave Omega Universe, where life is just one miracle after another. This looks like a good ending. Let's go to page 112. That's weird. It just keeps going on and on after that. Okay, let's look at another ending. Slowly you close your eyes and think. Slowly you begin to remember. It's coming back to you. You were born on planet Zog, and pulling the red lever must have caused you to switch identities with a creature that's rare even on Zog. This creature begins life in the form of a human being. At the age of 16, it spins a cocoon around itself. About 3 months later, it emerges as the furry-haired Grumbula, a Zogian animal that looks very much like a Abyssinian cat. The end. I don't know what kind of ending that is. Doesn't sound good. This one is called Prisoner of the Ant People. Another sci-fi type of book. Yeah, the good thing about these books is that you just don't read it straight through like a novel. It gives you choices, and you just, depending on the choices you make, you want to find out more about it. You know, it gets you into the book. It has a different story, you know, depending on what you choose. That's a good thing about this thing. And yeah. So basically, we did have text games like I mentioned on the computer, like Zork. Except it's a little bit different. You don't just get choices like this, you know. It's like you have to type in the commands. and sometimes it was kind of difficult because you have to type in the commands in a specific way or it wouldn't work. So in the late 1980s, early 1990s, those types of games where you just type in commands are kind of like replaced with games which had like more like choices like this. You just choose the phrases on the screen, and depending on what you chose, I guess it used the if else if statements, and if you chose the right one, it would enable you to complete the game, and kind of like this choose your own adventure book. And that's the interesting thing about it. And yeah, these books were really interesting. And back when I was going to elementary school, we used to have book fairs, and they would come to our school, and we'd buy books like these, or we'd go to the bookstore and buy them. I think they even had them in Costco. We used to buy them in Costco. Yeah, pretty interesting time. There's a lot of nostalgia in these types of books. Okay, thanks for watching.